Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, where we chat with industry leaders and get their take on the challenges facing the market. And maybe we'll have a little fun along the way. On this week's episode of the Marketing Stir, Ajay and Vincent are joined by Sharat Potharaju, co-founder and CEO of Uniqode, to discuss the applications of QR codes and how Uniqode is bridging the physical and digital worlds.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. It is me, Vincent Pietrafesa, extra happy today to be hosting the Marketing Stir for you. It has been, feels like a long time, but it's not, right? Every other week you get to hear a new one of these. But thank you for listening. Thank you for also coming up to me at trade shows, conferences, telling me you love the podcast and asking, are you and AJ always like that? We are. You should have seen the two of us walking around Ramp Up in San Francisco. Man, were people asking us questions and loving the podcast. So we'll get into that in a moment. But let's pause real quick to talk about who Stirista is. That's it. There's no advertising that we take in this podcast, but we are a marketing technology company. We own our own business-to-business data, business-to-consumer data. We help companies get new customers by accessing that data through email marketing, connected TV, display. Email me, vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am. I just gave you my email address. Boy, are you using it. Sometimes not for the reason I intend, but hey, you're at least listening. The other reason I'm extra happy, you may have noticed from the last couple episodes, this man, he's very busy. He's very busy, but I got to hang out with him in San Francisco, and he's actually representing, I think that's a San Francisco Giants shirt he's got on right now, if my old eyes are not fooling me. But my favorite CEO, ladies and gentlemen, the co-host, Mr. AJ Gupta. What's up, AJ?
Hey, Vincent. Yeah, sorry for abandoning you last couple of episodes. It's been a bit of a crazy Q1, but hopefully things are settling down here with our two acquisitions and all that.
Yeah, a lot of great news since we've chatted. The acquiring Andrews Wharton, acquiring Magnetic. It's been great, and I got to see you in San Francisco. I gotta say, AJ, you know I don't throw compliments around in general a lot, but you're famous at Ramp Up. You're walking around, they know you. I'm second fiddle, which is okay. I'm okay to be second fiddle, but
I am sure it was killing you on the inside.
it was, and on the outside, because I think I mentioned it on the podcast that it's killing me, but it's okay. It was great to be there with you. But yeah, the listeners were a lot of questions, right? A lot of people coming up to us at Ramp Up and asking us questions.
Yeah, Ramp Up is the home of our podcast. We should probably do a couple of live episodes there next year.
I know if they're smart, they would let us. If you're listening, Ramp Up, and I know you are. We've had some people on from Live Ramp, and they should be listening. But yeah, it is great to have you back. It was fun. I think I'll see you next in June. You and I are going to the USPACC, right?
Yep.
You're receiving an award again for Asian-owned business. It's our third year. And they're happy to have us back because we bring the fun, we bring the party, and we also bring a non-staffing company that they're happy to meet us and talk to us about. But let's get to our guest. This is another reason I'm happy. This guy's a New Yorker. I felt it. I felt it when I had talked to him and I met him because, as you know, AJ, you're down in Texas, but you're originally from San Francisco there. I could sense when there's a New Yorker in the house, and I'm excited to have him because he's also a founder. He's the co-founder and he's a CEO just like you. And he is here. He is the co-founder and CEO of Uniqode. Sharat Potharaju. What's going on, Sharat?
Hey, Vincent. Jay, thank you so much for having me here. Super excited to be here. Always very excited to meet a fellow New Yorker.
Absolutely. And if people are watching us, most people listen to us, but if you are watching us on YouTube there, you can see Sharat's background. That's not your real background, is it? But sadly, no. But nonetheless, it is New York City, and he is in New York, and I'll have to prove it. We're going to have to meet up after this podcast one of the days and grab a bite and meet in person. But we have him here now. And we're lucky to have him because we always like getting perspectives from founders, CEOs, right? A lot of people we've had on, we have many amazing guests on the podcast, but not often a founder. So talk to us, Sharat, about the company and your role as a founder. What does that mean? Talk to us about some of your day-to-day.
Maybe I'll just quickly start off by telling you what Unicode is and what we're trying to do here. The larger vision with which my co-founder and I started Unicode was the idea that the physical world and the digital world needs to be connected in a much better manner. And what we essentially started 5 years ago is to basically build a platform taking the technologies that are there on the mobile device, because we fundamentally believe the mobile device is the one that's going to connect the physical and digital divide. And so we took the technologies on the mobile device like QR codes, NFC, Bluetooth, geofencing, Wi-Fi, and kind of packaged them all into creating this robust platform that brands and businesses could essentially use. Long story short, because several reasons, the ability to scan a QR code becoming native to the operating system, the fact that QR codes were widely prevalent and successful in China and in Asia, and partly because of the pandemic itself, QR codes really kind of grew from the left flank and kind of invaded and kind of took over basically our physical landscape. And we've been growing really well over the last 5 years. And the way we are essentially been envisioning this is QR codes have become a kind of a call to action for the physical world. We have several marketers all over the world using us to kind of collect data, to be able to drive attribution, to be able to do a host of different things that even go beyond marketing. And happy to kind of talk about that and a lot more uh, during this podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're going to definitely talk about it. I think listeners know that I've mentioned QR codes a lot on the podcast and how it's kind of shifted from, 20 years ago, people were like, I'm not scanning this. What are you crazy? Well, I have no idea what this is. To people like my mother-in-law who are using QR codes and using it at the menus and on from the television. And we'll get into that. But let's take it further back, Sharat. Take us back to how you got started in marketing. What was that journey like? Did you study marketing? Did you stumble upon it? We'd love to learn.
So interestingly, I'm actually a major in chemical engineering, as far as you can get from marketing. Marketing has been something that I've been always excited about. I kind of went about in this in a very different manner. I was a chemical engineer. I was an investment banker on Wall Street. That's my first time. I think 20 years ago, I moved to New York. Um, but always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Uh, Always wanted to kind of build a technology company. Fundamentally believed in the power of what technology can do in terms of creating that small dent in the universe. And me and my co-founder, co-founder and I actually go back a very long time. We've been classmates from fifth grade at a school, and undergrad. Were roommates in New York. So uh, always wanted to do something on our own and kind of started down this path. Kind of when we started down the whole entrepreneurial route and kind of started building products, obviously we went through our own journey, were a bit lost in the woods as most entrepreneurs are as they till they find their footing and build different products. But the thing that really excited us the most is the whole idea of what mobile can do. Given that I'm originally from India and most third world countries, mobile really played a very disruptive role in terms of connecting and bringing people into the internet era. Mobile was the primary internet device, and we realized that's 10 years back before it was a thing. Now, obviously, with 600 million people using mobile devices in India, it's quite obvious. So we kind of started building different products in mobile, and as we kind of iterated, learned, built multiple products that were spectacular failures, learned a lot about what we should and should not do about building good products. We kind of realized the important thing to be able to do is to kind of focus on really world-class problems rather than being just obsessed about your own product. And if there's one thing that I've learned over my entrepreneurial life is that obsession with problems rather than your own product. And the problem that we got really stuck up on is this whole idea of connecting the physical and digital, like I talked about. I think that was the whole idea of omnichannel, etc., has been kind of the holy grail over the last 20 years, and people have done different things to be able to do that. But as the mobile device got stronger and stronger and more powerful, we realized that the mobile device is the one that's going to connect, bridge the physical and digital. That's where we basically realized there is a marketing solution, marketing problem that needs to be solved. We started this in a very marketing centric manner, but since has kind of expanded the footprint to multiple use cases. And that's really been the journey of how we started down building a product which is mobile centric and landed in the marketing sphere.
Sure. Talk to us in general about how are some of the companies using QR codes in new and exciting ways right now?
So there are several different ways, Ajay, that people are using QR codes. But if you think about it, it boils down to primarily two different buckets that I see. One is in the marketing realm of things, which is more in terms of driving attribution, which essentially means in the physical world, for example, if you're a brand, if you're a CPG brand, you kind of spray and pray a little bit in terms of what channel of marketing really works for you. You might not really know whether the activation, if you're for example, a beverage company, and that a beverage company, you don't know what kind of marketing is it activations inside bars and restaurants that's working? Is it packaging itself that's driving your engagement? Is it out of home screens that is driving your engagement? You don't fully know that. And as marketers, you would love the idea of understanding which marketing channel is really working for you the way you want. So one big piece that QR codes really do is the ability to be able to drive that attribution based on scan engagement, based on the screen, based on time of the day, based on which channel. We're able to get a lot of data to these marketers that helps them drive attribution. So they have much better ROI and focusing on channels that work. The second thing that we're seeing is, I mean, in the world of third-party data, basically kind of evolve, it kind of going down, and Google has been talking about this for the last 2 or 3 years. The reality is that people want to be able to build a lot of first party data, and given that you guys are a data technology company, you're quite familiar with that. Their customers really want to take ownership of their first party data. And what we want to be able to do is that we are able to use QR codes to drive that first party data. So what people are doing is taking maybe their packaging, maybe their locations, etc., putting QR codes, driving a lot of useful information behind that QR code, taking them and collecting first party data. It's a very pull based thing. It's not a push based. So it's kind of opt in. People who want to engage. You collect first party data. You won't know, obviously, it's Ajay or Vincent who's scanning the QR code, but we know that this particular device accessed or scanned this particular QR code on this particular packaging in this particular location. And that's how you'll be able to build digital cohorts based on interactions in the physical world, which is of extraordinarily meaningful applications for marketers. The last thing that we are also seeing is a lot of digitization, right? The whole idea of digital transformation, the idea of replacing physical paper, a lot because of environmental reasons, but a lot also because it's extraordinarily cost effective. And I'm sure as a consumer, you would have seen in your different walks of life, whether you're at a bank, instead of giving you these flyers, they tell you to scan a QR code. Or I don't know, the last time you were at a open house where instead of giving you floor plans, they tell you to scan a QR code so that there's a PDF that opens up with a the floor plan on your phone itself. Or you have our classic example of menu cards basically being powered by QR codes. So what we're seeing is wherever there is paper, that paper is essentially being replaced by QR codes. And that's an exciting use case that we are seeing grow really fast. I mean, if you see on my left-hand side, you'll see a QR code. That's my digital business card. A lot of physical business cards are being replaced by digital business cards. What does that mean? That means a QR code really powers your business card. Businesses all over the world are basically quickly replacing their physical business cards with paper cards on these digital business cards, and this is turning out to be like a mini CRM. So next time you and Vince are At an event, you pull up your QR code, powered digital business card, you scan it. Not only can Vincent save it and say, I met this guy at this particular event, it can go and say, integrate into your Salesforce or a HubSpot. So there are a host of different interesting use cases that we're emerging. And as we kind of see these use cases, we're rapidly productizing them.
I was at the Google conference last week, and some people actually had never seen that before, but instead of like a homepage on their phone, they had a QR code. So
yeah, you should try to scan my QR code. You'll know what it is, and you'll get a sense of what all is there.
So in terms of kind of product or feature that Unicode has, is there one that you particularly like or think has been very impactful for your business?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of interesting stuff that you can do with respect to data. I think we're just still scratching the surface with respect to it. I think the most important thing is QR code as a technology obviously has existed for over 30 years. And I think the idea is that what we have created is a dynamic QR code platform. The dynamicness really comes from the fact that if you scan a QR code and if you print a QR code on a packaging, uh, that code, where that code leads to, even after it's being printed, can be changed on a dashboard. So it's a little bit like running a campaign on an out-of-home screen, where you can continuously rapidly change it based on the time of the day of the week, etc. That kind of dynamism is what is extraordinarily important. And that's the kind of excitement that you will essentially get only if you're able to have a robust platform like ours. And that, I think, drives a lot of excitement for me.
And Sharat, talk to us about the differentiators between Unicode from competitors in this space.
I think the important thing to keep in mind, like I mentioned earlier, is the fact that QR codes are just around everywhere, right? The ability to scan or create a QR code is just open source. Anybody can really create a QR code. The idea is to basically be able to create that robust platform behind it, which enables you to create a QR code, track, drive analytics to it, and to be able to run campaigns, which depending on what you essentially are able to do. I think the easiest analogy I can give you is that of email marketing, right? When email started, was on the horizon. It started as a personal communication tool. Vincent, you started that as just a way to communicate with your friends and family, just a one-to-one thing. From from a personal communication tool, email really evolved itself into a very robust, B2B engagement platform for businesses. How did that happen? It happened because you had a constant contact or a SendGrid or an active campaign or a MailChimp really come and democratize email marketing for you, making you realize that the simple email touch point can do something wonderful for you and for your customers and for your audience. That's literally what we're doing with QR codes and as a channel. If you think about it, the idea is that today, if you look at your phone, on the phone, there are 3 or 4 different ways to engage with the consumer, right? One is text, second is call, third is email, and the fourth is going to be a camera, which is basically going to interact with the physical world through a QR code. These are your 4 channels of engagement. And text and call is like the likes of Twilio and Attentive, etc. Email is the likes of these that I just mentioned. For QR, it's going to be Unicode. So that's really the larger vision that we essentially have, and that's the path that we've been following.
Mm-hmm. No, very interesting. And Sharat, talk to us about, because as I joked about it early on, I remember restaurants really embracing the QR code early on. And also, I would say the entertainment space. I think you and I were joking the other day, Sharat, that I was at Monster Jam with my son, and hey, vote on who's the best by clicking this QR code. But then they're also capturing a lot of great information about someone like me, and that I want to go to market to me more about these kid events. So those industries, I think, are utilizing it. Can you talk about other industries that are really embracing it, and talk to us about those industries that are underutilizing it, that should be using it more?
Yeah, that's a good question. In fact, I think the biggest use case that we see is in CPG. CPG brands are extraordinarily huge in terms of the way they've been using it, primarily because they have realized that an inanimate product or packaging that they essentially have now has become a bit of a billboard for them. You've been able to convert something that did not or was not a marketing platform into a marketing platform. So CPG has been a pretty huge thing. Financial services, interestingly, is very has been very active and has been excited about how they can use QR codes for different use cases. I think the one which I think is underutilized is basically retail. And I think retail is usually very slow in the way they adopt things. And they are a lot more, I would say, apprehensive or laggards in terms of, how they adopt to new technologies. So given the number of use cases that I see playing out in retail, I think it's still very, very undertapped. Whereas CPG, financial services, even healthcare, etc., it's extraordinary how people are coming up with their own use cases. In fact, the thing that excites me the most, I mean, going back even to your earlier question, if I had to double click on that, the reality is that we are co-creating this new vertical. That's very exciting to me. And the reason, the advantage of being able to co-create this vertical is the fact that we are able to productize features depending on what people are trying to do. We have people coming up with their own use cases every day. I'm thinking of onboarding my employees in this chain of coffee shops I have. I want to use this QR code where I'm going to put it on machines that we use and help them onboard them. Or I want to use QR codes to drive leads from my open house session. So every day we come up with new and learn new use cases across various industry verticals and then double click on ones that make a lot of sense to us.
Kurt, a lot of industries are being affected or getting better because of AI. Do you think there's a place for AI in the future of the QR code technology?
Yeah, I mean, AI obviously is going to play a very significant role, but I don't think it's from 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 a QR perspective, but it's more in terms of the applications of what really we can do with it. And I think the important thing, the way we are thinking about doing AI is twofolds. One is how does our technology stack really integrate into other technology or other tech stacks. I think there are obviously the whole idea of agents, etc., are going to start playing out in a very interesting manner. So that's something that we're bracing for and we've been rapidly working on. The second thing that we have been actively pursuing in our R&D is basically trying to figure out how, given this is a new vertical, given that this is a new channel that marketers and business owners are trying for the very first time, how do we use AI to drive more insights to be able to help customers unlock more value than they are currently gaining from an existing use case? So today, customers come in with very specific use cases. People will come and say, hey, I have patients coming into my hospital every day. I don't want them to use paper and pen to sign up. I want them to basically scan this QR code or fill this form, and based on what they fill, I want some routing mechanism, right? Those are all things that we have built inside our platform. Now, as we kind of go about doing that, we want to be able to provide more intelligence and more analysis to our customers on what they have learned. And that kind of aggregation and that kind of data analysis is what we are hoping AI is able to do. In addition to the fact that, now if you're able to kind of, given the Gen AI, you can basically help any customer as they chat with us or chat with our bot is able to tell them more and more learnings about how our QR code campaign is particularly helping them. So that's the way we are looking at how AI can really empower our customers.
So, Sharat, a lot of our listeners are young career professionals. Some of them are starting in marketing, some of them are entrepreneurs. What's a valuable piece of advice you have received in your career that would be useful for someone else?
There is so much, but I think if there's one thing I would stick to is the fact that you got to play the long game. It's very easy to get disrupted by waves and hype and optimizing for here and now. I think it's really important to kind of really ask yourself the hard question of what do you want, what really excites you, and what do you really want to optimize for, because there's at any given point in time there are multiple paths to follow and none of them and never has instant gratification ever given a good solution. So anytime you want to basically be extraordinarily successful in anything, I think take a 10-year horizon. Think about, if I'm going down this path, would I be happy doing this 10 years from now? That's the way to think about it. Whatever you decide, whether it's trying to build a company, trying to seek a specific profession, um, ask yourself that long game question. And then once you're playing that long game, I think there is a certain level of patience that you will bring to honing yourself and building yourself, which I think will really extraordinarily unlock a certain level of potential, which will not happen if you just keep hop, skip, and jump from place to place, time to time, in a short duration.
I love that advice. That's great. And a lot of our listeners who are just starting out their careers or are also or fellow entrepreneurs like yourself. So I think that's it's really going to help them. The QR code in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see that going?
There are two ways to answer that question. One is, I think the reality is that the QR code in many ways is a call to action, like I said right at the beginning. So what a URL does in the digital world is what a QR code does in the physical world. So I think the applications of QR codes are going to quadruple in a very significant manner over the years. The second thing that to keep in mind is QR codes are going to grow astronomically bigger in terms of adoption itself. And the way I can say this with confidence is the fact that there is a new initiative by GS1, which is the Global Standards Organization, which standardizes all barcodes, to replace all barcodes on all packaged products by QR codes by 2027. So imagine that, all the $1 trillion of packaged products that you have, which have barcodes right now, all those barcodes are going to be replaced by QR codes, because the QR code works both ways. It helps a consumer engage and also can drive the supply chain use cases that you care. That is an inflection point when you think about it in terms of how QR codes are going to be adopted. So it's only right now, we have not even scratched the surface, or like, as they say, a tip of the iceberg in terms of the opportunity that QR codes really provides, both from a value adding standpoint and just in terms of the total addressable market.
Talk to us about some of the biggest risks you've taken in your career. Was it starting a company? Was it other things, getting into the industry? Would love to learn more about that.
What are the biggest risks I've taken? That's a good question. Let me pause for a moment and think about it. I think starting a company is obviously extraordinarily risky. I think Ajay will agree with that. It's starting up requires a certain level of blood, sweat, and tears. I think that starting is one part of it, but I think being on it, despite all the knockout blows that you keep getting, is extraordinarily hard. I mean, I think I could say it's a lot of other things, but just being an entrepreneur and having done this for over a decade, everything else really literally pales in comparison to what it takes to being an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. Yeah, but for sure, I think especially coming from Indian families, starting a business is always a even riskier proposition than most. So
Absolutely. I think the fun story is that my father is a banker all his life. And so for me, working on Wall Street was the ultimate dream. He could not imagine anything bigger and better than that. And for me to say that I'm going to give up banking and start a company where in a family where nobody ever has even remotely done business was shocking, to say the least, to my family, like Ajay said. But yeah, it's fun to prove other people wrong.
so this is a fun question, Sharat. We ask this to all our guests. I'm sure you get a ton of email and LinkedIn messages. Most of them are probably spam. What is a message, though, that gets a response from you? And what's a type of spam message that really annoys you?
Uh, the ones that really annoy me the most are two kinds. One is the one in which there is this random video which has this Sharat written all over it, which is quite obvious. There's so many AI tools that do that. It sounded really cool 5 years ago, maybe. And the second one is where they randomly send you an invite, which is just like it feels very personal, like as in like if anyone has to kind of earn themselves to show up on someone's calendar and to say I'm going to send you an invite, and in the invite basically introduce yourself, is just ridiculous. So those are the two things that doesn't. I think I think the one that really gets me excited is when they really seem to understand what Unicode does, right? And that really is the only one I typically respond to, which is they will say something very intriguing about Unicode, or they will say something extraordinarily intriguing about a line about very personal anecdote about how they engage with the value proposition of the company. Hey, I scanned this QR code. I discovered it's from Unicode, and I've been doing a lot of research on QR codes, and I think this is extraordinarily meaningful. Something like that, a sentence which makes me feel that this person really feels the pain I'm trying to solve, or the value proposition I'm trying to solve. In even a sentence will really make me pause whether this is worth my time or not. But the rest of them doesn't really make any sense.
So last one for me, this is just imagine if we were meeting for coffee and we were just having a general conversation. We like to get to know our guests a little bit better as well. So what do you like to do for fun, for hobbies?
I love history. I love politics. I read a lot on history, and I read a lot on politics. Those are my favorite guru topics to read and listen to on podcasts or books. And the other fun thing that I really, really, really enjoy doing is I have a 9-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. I love to spend a lot of time with them. That's what makes it worth the world going round and round. Yeah, those are the reading books, listening to podcasts, obviously spending time with my wife and kids. That's really what makes me happy and excited.
That's awesome. And yeah, I have an 8 and a 5-year-old, so I feel you. And AJ, wasn't your dad in banking as well? What a
He
small
was in
world, right?
banking, and I
Yeah,
got an 11 and a 6-year-old. So
that's it. Look at this. I love
now
it.
we really need to all get together.
Yeah, exactly. When you're in New York again, but yeah, that'll be awesome. But Sharat, a closing thought. Anything you want to get out there to the good people listening to this podcast?
I think we're in the realm of, AI is obviously really disrupting our lives in very interesting ways that you can imagine. But I think it's really, really important to stay true to the problem that you're trying to solve. It's very easy to be carried away by hypes and excitement about new technologies, new products, new features, new ideas. But it's really important to focus on what's really in front of you. Many times that kind of gets lost in all the noise. So keep asking yourself the question of, if you're building something as an entrepreneur, what is that problem you're trying to solve? If you're working in any core job that you're doing, ask yourself what is the core value that you're driving in that particular role as a marketer, and then start adding those tools. Usually what happens in any technology wave that I've seen is that invariably you get so excited by the technology, you get so excited by the product that you lose track of the problem you're trying to solve. If there's anything that I've learned, it's that keep all your focus on the problem.
I love it. I love it. Great advice. This has been an amazing episode, ladies and gentlemen. That is the co-founder and CEO of Uniqode, Uniqode. Check them out. Sharat Potharaju. I am Vincent Pietrafesa. Back with us, the very missed Mr. AJ Gupta. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com.